We know more about space than the ocean, and yet out of the two, the only place we've found aliens is the deep sea. Humans have explored 5% of this place to mesmerizing results. But what makes this hidden realm so otherworldly? What's the psychology behind the fear of these images? What drives explorers to risk their lives to uncover the secrets of the deep sea? And how does the lack of sunlight and extreme conditions affect the creatures lurking in this environment? In June 2023, Patrick Leahy, co-founder of a submersible company, got a call from Larry Connor, saying that he's determined to go back and prove that it can be done safely. Without context, this might seem confusing, but just a couple days prior to this call, a tragedy had happened. The Titan submersible imploded, leaving the entire world shocked. Larry Connor, a real estate billionaire, wanted to go back to prove that with enough planning and a $16 million budget, it can be performed without the risk of harm. But is there really a reason to go down when it's seemingly so dangerous? Absolutely, but for two types of reasons: curiosity and technology. The deep sea is the closest we've gotten to sci-fi aliens, and in our lifetime, it's probably the closest we're going to get. In regards to technology, it's literally helping us understand how we're affecting climate change and how it's affecting us. I'm going to be focusing on the more interesting side of that question: curiosity. Just what makes these harrowing creatures look like this? To understand that, we need to understand where we are. There are obviously a handful of different parts to the deep sea, but the fish I just pulled up can be found 4,000 meters below sea level. Do you know what it's like being down there, where it's freezing, pitch dark and lonely? Soul crushing, literally. Swimming at these depths would be like being crushed by a crocodile's bite in every single inch of your body. So how does this little thing deal with this harsh reality? Well, I could just say Mother Nature and evolution just did something cool and call it a day, but this video is more than that, so here's my explanation. Fish that are found this deep have more trimethylamine oxide, which is a compound that is found in their body. This compound counteracts the unstable structure of water at these depths by fortifying the hydrogen bonds in the water, stopping the proteins from denaturing in the actual fish. The deeper a fish is situated, the more of this compound they will have. But have you ever noticed how a lot of deep sea fish are red in color? If you pull up a spectrum of visible light, we can see the red is all the way to the left, with the highest wavelength. When you have something of this color deep in the sea, the wavelengths cannot penetrate that low into the ocean, causing the fish to practically be invisible. And when something is invisible, it's hard to eat or avoid depending on who the prey or predator is. The deeper you go into the deep sea, the less of anything you'll observe, which begs the question: how do these fish not die of hunger all of the time when there's nothing to eat? Well, the answer to that surprised me the most. Just because you don't see any food doesn't mean that it's not right in front of you. Have you ever heard of marine snow? Yeah, me neither. But it's basically a continuous shower of dead animals and algae, along with anything else that's edible, in the form of particles that fall from the upper part of the sea for these creatures to enjoy. Why does this make you unnerved, almost uncomfortable? Just what makes this fish unpleasing to a psychological level? Well, let's start with the color. It's red. If you didn't know, different colors can make us feel different ways. Red makes us sense danger and makes us feel aggravated and bumps up our heart rate, according to Verywell Mind. A big part of your uneasy feeling is about what you don't know. You have no idea where the head ends and where the body starts. I mean, you can't even see half of this creature because of how dark it is. The fear of the dark is a fear of its own. You don't know if this thing is agitated at your presence. You don't know if it's capable of doing harm. You don't know if anything can save you. Let's imagine a hypothetical scenario where you're actually face to face with this thing. There is nothing you can do. You don't know which way is up. Wherever you look is darkness. There is no stick or rock you can take to fend it off with. There is no tree you can climb. It knows you're a worse swimmer. You can't scream for help because if you do, you will drown. And there is nothing for miles, let alone a human. The only two things that you know for sure is that those teeth can do harm, and no matter how you look at it, you're a goner. The two biggest fears are death and drowning. There's been studies where even people who can't experience fear got scared when subject to a loss of oxygen. The deep sea is hands down the scariest place on Earth and potentially even beyond. Astrophobia is the fear of space, and it's easy to see why. Imagine being in a rocket heading to Mars and then something malfunctions. Maybe a celestial object collides with it and punctures a hole through the rocket. I mean, you're helpless. In most scary situations, you can use the adrenaline you have gained to help get yourself out of the situation. But in this one, the only thing you can do is sit there and watch as you lose oxygen and become nothing more than debris. Both the deep sea and space have very similar traits that make them terrifying. Both are dark, both lead to suffocation, both you just float around, both you know nothing about, and both make you feel tiny. Humans are used to having power over the natural world around us, but in both of these scenarios, our best technologies can only comfort us so much about their safety before reality kicks in. There's a reason only 5% of the deep sea has been explored. There is a reason why we need a budget of tens of millions just to confidently go to the Titanic, which is only 3,800 meters below sea level. The deepest points humans have went is 11,000 meters deep to the bottom of the Mariana Trench, and that trip came with difficulties in and of itself. Halfway down to the Mariana Trench, one of the windows on the submersible cracked, but luckily water didn't seep into the actual submersible. Oh yeah, did I tell you that this was in 1960? Imagine how dark it would have been in the contraption, for hours, only occasionally lit up by the light of a fish's bioluminescence. Bioluminescence, like any source of light, involves a chemical reaction between two substances, luciferin, which actually creates the light, and luciferase, which is the enzyme that catalyzes the reaction, producing the light that we see here. One thing about the deep sea that I love is that with the right examples, the deep sea can be kind of beautiful, almost resembling galaxies in deep space or long tubes that spiral and circle for miles. Wait a minute, what is this thing? Alright, I did a little bit of research and this is the craziest thing I've ever seen. It's known as the Siphonophore apolemia, and this alien-like creature was spotted in the Ningaloo Canyons, off the west coast of Australia. And do you want to know the weirdest part? When I call this thing a creature, I was wrong. It is thousands of genetically identical clones that work together to create a jellyfish-type thing, according to Global News. Apparently, these things are usually only around 60 meters long, but this is way bigger than anything anyone has ever seen before. Many people are confident that this might be the longest creature in the world. And so, although this place can be terrifying, it's discoveries like these that entice scientists and explorers to keep pushing through the danger and to unravel the secrets this beautiful place has to offer.
The deep sea isn't immune to threats like overfishing, climate change, and pollution. Even miles beneath the ocean surface, we find trash.
I used to think that the danger of the deep sea to humans was one-sided. But the videos about this topic that you don't see are really the ones that are the most important. Behind the solitude of this amazing place lies the problem humans just can't seem to get rid of, and it's actively killing the creatures of this habitat. So I hope this makes you at least a little bit more aware of that plastic bottle you just couldn't be bothered to recycle.